You're listening to the Everyday Legends podcast Moment, a snippet from the full show that is dedicated to championing everyday men and supporting you in getting more from life, from love, and the everyday. I'm your host, Mike Campbell, and the aim of this podcast Moment is simple: to pull a bite-sized snippet of punch from the full episode to support you in building rock-solid foundations, legendary integrity, and kick-ass relationships. So let's get into this moment from the show. So the pain I'm experiencing, I often justify, rationalize, or suffer through and accept and go, it's not bad enough, especially relative to what I think doing something about it's going to be. Until I get to a point where it's, quote, rock bottom, it's bad enough. All of a sudden, poof, the pain becomes bigger than what I think doing something about it will involve, will ask of me. So once that scale shifts, I can do something about it. Now, that's not an objective thing. It's very subjective, which means that at all times you can look at that and change those values yourself. But often you can't do that yourself, right? If your idea of what change and growth is going to involve is giant, you probably need some different eyes on it. Hey, you know what? It's not actually that. Here's the first step. You climb a mountain, cliche coming, one step after a time. And if you can't see that, if you're blinded by all of your shit and the fear of what you're confronted by at your edge, because that's really what's going on. We're called into adventure. The hero's journey invites us. It's a call to adventure. It is a call to a next step, to take a step into growth, to what's available to us. That feels terrifying, right? And so, I don't want that. You know what? This pain that I'm experiencing, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. You know what? I can justify this. I can suffer through this. Yeah. And enter a very common phrase, and that is, we will gladly stick with the devil we know over the devil we don't. And that's exactly the concept that I'm talking about right there. The pain that I'm experiencing, the devil, right? We name it the devil, which is to say we know it. It's the devil we know. So we already know that it's fucking shit. Is better, rather the devil I know than the devil I don't. So here's what's going on in that statement, and I want you to really connect to this. The devil I know, which means I know it, I've already identified it, it is the devil. It's fucking shit. It's not working for me. It's not serving me. It's costing me. It's breaking me down. It's pulling me into a dark, unpleasant place, rather than the devil I don't know. So it's not, we say it's the devil I don't know, and we build it up to be a bigger devil, but we don't know that. So actually, we don't know that it's the devil. We think, we have an idea, a perception that it might be a bigger devil because it's the unknown. And gentlemen, if you are afraid of the unknown, it is time to fucking step into it. But not in the deep end. Start with one step. Do something that takes you into discomfort and become more competent at doing challenging things. That could be anything. But it's the devil I don't know. And you don't know that it's the devil. And I'm here to tell you, most of the time, it fucking ain't the devil. There's work involved. There's the letting go of what keeps me at this level. And then the growing into something new. Growth has pain, right? Growing pains. There's pain involved in growth. But when we connect to why grow, and we can see what's on the other side of it and the purpose and the meaning in growth, then that work has purpose, right? The juice is worth the squeeze. I'm willing to do the work, the squeezing, in order to achieve, create, experience the juice. And so we can actually start to change that and go, this is the devil I know. Do I want to keep experiencing this? What are the consequences for this devil I know in my life? Am I willing to keep paying those prices? If no, then why am I stuck here? Do I think that the devil I don't know will be some giant devil? Can I get a different take on that? Can I dissipate and decrease the size of what I think the work is going to be? That's where we need to start exploring. So here's something to start questioning. Okay, so why do we do this? Right? Well, because change can be challenging. It asks us to let go of some shit that, while it might be the devil I know, it's familiar. And so, you know what, even though this is shit house and I've got that pain in my back or this thing in my relationship or that thing in my work, my friendships, whatever, it's familiar. And there's something that seems safe about familiarity. But I want to be clear here. It can seem safe, right? Because it's not asking us to grow. It's like a warm blanket. But that blanket's covered in shit, bro. What do you keep? It's familiar, but it's covered in shit. Stop. cuddling yourself into that blanket. So why else do we build it up? What work and change might be, and suffer through what is? Well, here's something that's very true for a lot of men. We have learnt through our lives and then consistently through culture and everything that we hear, that the idea of needing help says something about me. It says that I'm not capable, that I'm incapable, and fundamentally it often says something, or at least we make it mean this, which is important, that something is wrong with me. And a simple connection is, if I admit to myself, and therefore perhaps to others, that I need to change and that I might need help, well, that's telling me that I'm incapable and there's something wrong with me. That's an identity piece that I'm not willing to explore, and so we won't. So we'll keep building up the devil I don't know, and we'll keep justifying why the devil I know is acceptable. And what that will often do is prove a point, a deeper point that we might have been holding on to, harboring, fearing, running our lives based around, which is that for some time, which is something around my worthiness. If something is wrong with me, if I admit to needing to change, maybe needing some help, to doing some work, that means that I'm incapable. That means there's something wrong with me. And that means that my deep fear that I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve growth, love, adventure, whatever the fuck that I really, really want, even knowing that, then I won't do it, right? It will prove that point. And it's weird. That's not an amazing thing to experience, but I will go through my life looking for evidence to prove those points. And so I will avoid that. Taking a step, doing some work on myself, seeking some support, even saying to someone, I'm struggling, because I carry so much in that. I'm incapable, there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough. And so we'll go about our lives convincing ourselves that it's not that bad. You know what, I can handle this. And maybe you can, right? We might even think, you know what, there's kudos. Kudos? Trying to do that for my American listeners. There's kudos for suffering through it. You know, like we think that there's some fucking medal at the end of life for the guy that suffered the most and didn't do something about it, or suffered in silence the most and didn't do anything about it. There just fucking isn't a prize at the end of life for the guy who suffered the most or suffered in silence the most. And so in that, we often, the extension idea of there's something wrong with you, you're weak, you're incapable if you do something about it, is you need to be able to do this alone. You need to be unfazed by everything in life. You should know all the answers to everything. You should be able to handle everything yourself. You should be this kind of ever-capable superhuman. And so we think we have to do it all alone, which is fucking insanity. Like, how could we? I can't do everything alone. I need to have coaches, mentors, brothers, men around me who support me, who can hear me and listen to me and encourage me and celebrate me and be honest with me and call me into integrity and call me forward into honesty and who I'm capable of being, who can educate me on things that I don't currently know. Because how the fuck could you know everything? What a wildly insane expectation to place on yourself, or to have placed on us and then to take on board ourselves. But that's what we'll do. The idea of being weak, meaning something about me, i.e. that I'm weak, right? I have a weakness, something that I need to work on. I have a pain, something that needs work. If we make that mean that I am weak, no, we all have weaknesses. That doesn't mean you are weak. But if we make that mean that, you know, that I'm less than, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not man enough, then that will stop me doing anything about it. And so what happens is I need what's wrong, whatever is wrong, to be at a point, at a bad enough point, that it's okay that I can do something about it, right? You know, so we get to this point, this is this kind of rock bottom point where the size of the shit is big enough that all of a sudden it magically warrants doing something about it. Right? Like, surely now I can't be seen as weak if I do something, if I ask for help, if I admit to needing support, or that something has to change, right? And enter that kind of rock bottom point, which isn't necessarily some giant living under a bridge rock bottom that I mentioned before, but some version of it. And what we do in that process is we fuck ourselves because now the work to overcome is greater. It actually is greater because I've delayed it and delayed it and delayed it and delayed it so much that I am further away from change, from getting out of pain and then change and growth and what's possible for me. And this often plays into a story or identity that we have, which is, that life has to be hard for me. I never get it easy. Nothing ever goes, right for me. I have to be a fighter. You gotta work and sweat hard for everything. All this kind of really like woe is me shit, which again, I have compassion for. And it often speaks to this fundamental belief system that we might have about ourselves and our worthiness and what we deserve and so on. So we'll play into that. But at this point, we have to face the devil we don't know. We have to face that. But as I said before, it becomes infinitely harder because we made it harder because of the delay, because how far we let it go. Not because it is actually some unclimbable mountain that we've maybe built it up in our mind to be until that point, right? But think about this. The more you sweep under the rug, the bigger the mess under there.
You have been listening to the Everyday Legends podcast, Moments, a short snippet from the show that is dedicated to championing everyday men and supporting you and getting more from life, love, and the everyday. If you have enjoyed this moment, then the next logical step is to check out the full episode if you haven't. And if you think that you have someone in your life, a man that could benefit from or will enjoy this moment, then pass it on to him. As always, if you like this podcast, then please click subscribe, click download first, all those things that supports us and this podcast getting in front of more men like you. I've been your host, Mike Campbell. Remember, keep building those rock solid foundations, build that legendary integrity, and keep creating those kick-ass relationships.